So once again, we are in the dilemma of what to do with our American Buff Geese. We'll link the video this time last year where we discussed what to do with our American Buff Geese, and we'll link the following video which shows exactly what we decided to do. And we've come around, sorry, it's raining right now, but it's beautiful outside and nice and cool for a change after our 40-degree weather, so I'll take it. But we've come full circle 1 year later and are again talking about what to do with our American Buff Geese. So as I'm standing out in the rain this morning, we're thankful for rain because it was getting to the point we were almost going to have to water the gardens. But as I am outside in the rain this morning, we are taking the geese back to the pasture. And I thought, what better time to show why we've made the decision that the geese are probably going, not probably, the geese are going to stay on the homestead. One of the main conclusions we've made on the geese is that they are beneficial to our big picture on the homestead because the sheep are a main priority for us. And what we're hoping to do is use a flock of geese to come along behind the sheep and eat grass just like they are doing now. The geese love short, fresh grass. And the nice thing about this is when it comes to the parasites that the sheep put out in the pasture, they tend to live on about the bottom 4 inches of grass. So the theory kind of is that if we have a big enough flock of geese, i.e. probably we're looking at close to 40 in total with, you know, mums, dads, and babies, and they come along behind, as it's growing up, as you see here right now, they will eat all those nice little shoots that are going to be covered in any parasites that might be in the pastures. When we look at it this way, the geese is a very, very inexpensive cleanup crew, I guess you could kind of say.
So of course, another really strong, plus to the geese is of course their potential for meat production. Geese, without getting too far into the numbers, are really an exceptionally economical way to produce meat and a fairly large volume of it, provided, and here's the big caveat, that you have the space. Geese, as far as poultry go, do require quite a bit of space once you start getting any number of them. If we produce approximately 40 goslings a year, if we kind of assume that might be a butcher weight of, you know, let's say 10 pounds, give or take. Some might be a bit bigger, some might be a bit smaller. That's a lot of meat, even by the time you do the dress out and everything else. As even though they do take quite a while to actually achieve that size, to be able to put them in the freezer, that's almost a benefit because you can have them out on the pastures once we get everything fenced properly, and they're essentially very economical, which means you can process them when it's cooler. So rather than having to process small batches of geese throughout the year, you would basically be processing everything in the fall, which sort of corresponds nicely to the time of year when having to butcher, at least where we live, is a little more pleasant, simply because of the cooler temperatures, which just makes everything run a bit smoother. So we still feel that they're going to fit really well into sort of how we would like to process our animals in a yearly cycle. We can, in the future, work towards sort of a sort of self-sufficient flock of geese, which will allow us to select from our own flock for what works best for us. Now, proof of concept, we've already done this with the chickens in the past, and it works rather well. And the geese, sort of for their proof of concept, have shown that they are capable of obviously sitting and incubating and looking after goslings, which is really important if you're trying to have a self-sustaining flock. And probably the final big piece here is a big attractive factor to the geese is that we can raise them relatively extensively as opposed to intensively. What we mean by that is they can utilize the pastures as we continue to build pastures and improve pastures, using them as part of that pasture rotation cycle to help break the parasites, which was one of our biggest reasons. You're also able to do that with less inputs and I'm not going to say less infrastructure, but you're kind of doubling up. It's that layered approach, which can be difficult at times. The fortunate thing is the geese prefer the grass quite young, and of course by putting in the larger grazing animals first, i.e. the sheep, they'll eat it down. Essentially the geese could come in following the sheep, and when it's under 4 inches, they're still going to control those parasites or significantly help. I shouldn't say control, significantly help control those parasites. That will put it at their sort of optimal level to eat, which means that the two can kind of work in tandem a little bit. Obviously the sheep still being the primary and the geese the secondary. So there you have it. In our quest to be more sustainable on our homestead, the geese essentially have made the cut. They will be staying, and over the next coming years we will be increasing the size of our flock, although we are going to do that slowly, simply because we don't have all the pastures constructed and we would need some infrastructure more for the breeding season than overwintering, etc. From a benefit analysis or a pro-con analysis here, the pros are outweighing the cons as far as what work they can do for us, what they can produce for us, and that general ease of producing in a more extensive manner, i.e. we can do this grass-fed with some supplementation of off-farm grains, and also the economic side of it. The geese, we will do a video in the future on this, but the geese have proven so far to be an extremely economical poultry to raise on the homestead when your primary goal is to produce meat. So stay tuned for more videos in the near future and beyond of how we continue to grow and manage our American Buff Goose flock in sort of our overarching sustainable vision for our homestead.